Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining me today for the Nancy's latest crafty chat. So I see people are coming to watch. That's so awesome. Just so you know, I am watching comments. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask away. 5 people. Wow. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me for my Sizzix stamp and press tool crafty chat. So this is it right here. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it comes in 2 different kinds of packaging with 2 different kinds of names. Hey, Julie. We've got the Sizzix registration plate and the Sizzix stamp and stencil tool. What comes in the package is this with the hinge that comes off. So this comes off. This piece, your bottom piece, and your one sticky grid. So you can get replacements of these sticky grids, but one comes with the tool, which I'm going to show you why this is kind of cool and important. So what is obviously stamp and stencil tool? What's it for? Stamping and stenciling. So there you go. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, kind of. There's lots of cool features here that I really wanted to share that make it separate it from other stamp and stencil tools. So if you have a stamp press like a Misty or the Creative Couture or one from way back, what can happen is you have a small square with, like I'll show you my Misty, which I love. Don't get me wrong. My thing about tools is when you know what a tool does and how it works, you can make the right choice. Does that mean that one tool is better than another? Not necessarily. It just means that one tool might work for you better than it might work for somebody else. Or if you're like me and you're a tool junkie, you need them all for different reasons. So that's the way I look at it. So your Misty, you load up your paper and you put your stamp on the top, but once you put your paper in here, you can't go past this barrier right here on the outside. So this is your stamping surface right here. Okay. And it's mainly meant for stamping. That's not to say I couldn't do stenciling on there, but Misty has its great features as well. I will be talking about a Misty and Misty tricks in another crafty chat. Today we're going to talk about this beauty. So what I fell in love with about this one, say over another one, is I got all this surface area. This is a huge amount of surface area without any barriers around it. So that's the first thing right off the bat that I think is really good about, and that suits my use as far as the Sizzix, right? As far as stamping. So I'm just tidying mine up while we talk. So the sticky grid is really handy because it can hold my paper in place. It's got about a little bit stronger, or just about as strong as a Post-it note. So I can, once I have this in here, now it's even marked. Like if I pull this back, you can see that it's etched to show how I want to line up my sticky grid. So once I put this down, this sticky grid should, within millimeters, match the sticky grid, this grid that's on the top of the stamp and press tool. Okay, so this does come off. That's something I'll get into, but anyway, the point is now I can line up so this was my card front. I could line it up to center and know that when I put a stamp, so there's actually a grid on here and the center lines are a little bit stronger. I'm not sure if that's easy to see on camera, but they're a little bit more obvious. There's that one and that one. So I can take any old stamp. Let's just say, might as well use a Sizzix stamp. This is one I haven't had a chance to use yet, so I figured I'd better get it out and use it. Because it'll show for, and I do want to be very, very, very clear that this is not, even though this is a Sizzix tool and I am using Sizzix stamps, I don't always have to use Sizzix stamps. You can use any stamp. So back in the day, they used to give us our stamps on blocks. Everybody found that to be a bit of a pain because we had to store them that way. Now we get to buy more and store them in less space because we can put them in their sleeves and stuff, right? So I'm going to, whoopsies. That doesn't usually happen. I'm usually pretty good. Let's see. Press that on. Okay, there you go. First things first. There is a grid on this side. It definitely wants the smooth side. Let's see if that makes a difference. Oh yeah, big difference. Okay. So now I got it upside down. Hang on. Ta-da! Okay, we're cooking with gas. So it does take up a lot of room on your desk, but the payback is it's a multi-tool. So as much as it's taking up a little bit of extra space, it's also giving me more opportunities, but it's also going to have some extra capabilities as well, which we will get to. Anyway, so technically I should be able to stamp this man's face smack in the middle of this card within reason, just by there. So now let's say I didn't think that that was fabulous stamping or needed it to be darker. I have a second chance. I can always juice up again and do it again. Okay. Right. So let's talk about cleaning. So it's plastic. So if I'm using water-based inks, I can just use a water spritz and just kind of wipe off the extra. If I am quick, in this case, I am using a pigment. If I'm quick, I can usually just take a nice moist cloth. There's just a bit of water on my cloth, clean up my stamp, clean up my platform, put my stamp away. I'm good to go. I'm not putting my stamp really away because I want to keep going. But anyway, point is there we go. Now I know that that is beautifully stamped pretty much in the center of my card, right? So stamping, but it says stamp and stencil, right? So what do I mean? So if I take this off, I can put this to the side. And then I've got this tool here. It's called the Stencil tool. So why this matters? Why this matters. When you purchase a Sizzix stamp, and I know where you're going, as soon as I say Sizzix, how am I going to use other stamps? I've got an answer for that too. So I'm going to get, when you buy, especially these Sizzix Studio stamps, and I have knowledge of some really good designers that are going to be coming out with some more of these. So just know that. I can't really say who they are, but so far we've had some really, Kat Kerr and some other really cool people. And I happen to know somebody you guys will have known from other things is coming along with some Sizzix stuff. I'm not sure what else I'm allowed to say, so I'm not going to say much more. But anyway, something to watch for. But anyways, I can put this here or here or here. So I've got these 4 areas. I can put this on and this will stay nice and sturdy there. And then on my stencils, I have these openings so that I can put my stencil down onto there. And then when I go ahead and I stencil, this is all secure for me. So again, I've got it secured by, I know exactly where it's going to be on the bottom. So even if I pick this up, ideally, if I put it back on the same spot, I should be able to come really close to the exact same spot. And not to mention just with the sticky grid. So watch this. I'll put this down underneath. Now I've got a little bit of sticky all the way around, kind of helps secure this down. I've got sticky securing my paper down. This is all very secure for my stenciling. And I can just come in and do whatever blending or stenciling I want to do. So as I'm going, the sticky grid is going to get dirty, but I actually kind of like the idea of the fact that in a sense it's also protecting my tool. So as I continue to add ink to this, and it gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, eventually I can just replace it for quick, cheap, just buy up some sticky grids. There's a few in a pack. Sorry, I didn't totally price that all out for you, but I'm sure you can find it on our online store. You get the 8 by 11-ish sticky grid, and then you can come along and replace that at will. And so for as much as it bugs you, like if you're somebody that, like, if it gets dirty and you get irritated by that, you can change it faster. Or if you're somebody like me who's just kind of willing to go with it a little bit, I can let it get super dirty. And you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so then I can come along and I can add another stencil like this and just go ahead and layer in. So the good news is about what I was thinking before I came on is, let's say I'm making Christmas cards. So I'm obviously just showing you just kind of random stencils at this point. But let's say I do this background and I absolutely love it. I can note to myself, okay, I've got this on this notch. I use this stencil first, and then I use this stencil, and I use this piece of paper and I put it here. And now I can recreate this over and over and over. So if I'm paying attention to what I do, there's always that option with sort of repeating a design over and over. So the other thing that Sizzix has that I don't have with me is the layering dies. So if you've seen these, they're very similar to waffle flower or whatever, or the lawn fawn ones, where you put a die down. So I would have my paper here. I would figure out how I want to put my stencil down. And then I could actually use those layering stencils and have this help me to make sure. Hi, Sharon, never late. Don't worry. You can always just, anyway, you have this tool to help you with your layering stencil to help you place it into place. Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, so as an example, I grabbed this Hero Arts, but it is not a Sizzix one. So it doesn't have the little holes on it. Here's my thinking. If you're feeling really brave, you could probably layer up and put your own holes in it. I'm not sure I'm that great at that. The other thing, I haven't tried this yet, so we're going to try this together right here on camera. So hopefully it goes well. But we're going to find out how well we can use these universal stencil converters. So the idea is I can take these and put them on my stencils, and then I will get, I should be able to layer. Okay, we'll see. It strikes me as potentially some way for things to go wrong. I'm going to be honest. I think to myself, now I've got to be the person that puts this on the stencil properly. So for, foolproof, I probably would want to get the stencils from Sizzix. But I did think this was a cool idea, and it would allow me to go ahead and convert some stencils that I absolutely love. So I probably wouldn't do this to all of my stencils, but if I have a set of layering stencils that I absolutely love using, and I just want to make it easier, I would definitely get these converters for sure. So the package has 10. So it has these little holes on it. So the idea being that I would put this here, and then I put this on my stencil, and I'm good to go, right? So let's see. I'm going to figure out how to do this while we're on camera. And that is a little freaky, but let's make it happen. Okay, so what I'm noticing right off the bat is this one is cut edge to edge. There's not a lot of room for me to install this. So the minute I put this on, I'm going to be taking up some of the background. I'm okay with that. Hey, Lori. I'm okay with that because what I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry about, this is bigger than a card front. So I'm going to consider it a card front stencil. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this backing that's going to adhere to my stencil. So obviously when I put this down onto my stencil, what's going to happen is I'm going to end up covering up some of the cutout. I've decided to be okay with that. The other thing that I'm going to do to try to make my life easy, I'll just take this to the side. Hopefully you can see on my mat a little bit better, is first off, I'm going to put this down. There's the sticky side up. I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to line up the top edge to the top edge along here. So now if I was doing this with, I mean, when you get a Sizzix tool, they've already figured out and put it for middle, right? But I know that I can move this around. I can move this one this way. I can move it one this way. I can move it up this way. Like I can move this around as much as I need. So I'm going to try. So I'm just going to use the straight edge here to my advantage. And hopefully when I get down to actually starting to layer, I'm not going to have as much trouble with it being off. So the other thing that I would do is I picked this Hero Arts pattern because I kind of felt that it wouldn't be too horrible if I was off a little bit, right? Whereas some of them might be a little bit more trouble. Okay, so I'm just going to grab, because I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know how this is going to turn out, I'm going to grab a full-on 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and put it on my sticky grid. So that gives me lots of surface area. Okay, so now I would install that to my thing. Okay, so I see that I want to come down a little bit. So I know that I'm going to have to trim out all this paper. Okay, I'm all right with that. The other thing I'm noticing, let's see. There we go. I want it this way. So if you don't know, stencils are cut and then they print their name on them. And if you use, I, as a mixed media person, will use either side of the stencil. But if you're using a stencil and feel that you need to know what right side is up, it's always the printed side is up. Okay, so watch. So this one says Hero Arts. So that's what I'm going to watch for. There should be, this is, yeah, okay, it says SA303-1. So this is my number one stencil. Good to go. Good on me. I actually picked the right one to go first. All right, so I'm just going to pick a color and just try it out. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed right off the bat, okay, the stencil is going to move, okay, a little bit. Like, and I mean, by move, I mean it's kind of rippling while I, it hasn't shifted. It's just going to ripple a little bit while, that's kind of part of what this stencil is about, I'm pretty sure. I need a gentle hand, so I'm just going to keep on. The other thing I think I should have done was re-inked my ink. But anyway, let's keep going. Am I getting anything? Let's check. Yeah. All right, so I've got my first layer down. I've used it. Now, what I would do, particularly if I love this stencil and want to use it again, is just leave that on there. So if I use this stencil tool a lot, I'm not going to worry about taking that off. In fact, I actually kind of consider that ready for next time. So now I got to come up with stencil number 2. All right, so learning as I go, I probably should have done all of my stencils and gotten them ready first. Okay, fair enough. And then done this, because what I want to do, okay, sorry, I'm thinking as I go here, guys. So I'm going to take this one. I've got this one, which I did there. I'm going to do the same thing here. So now what I'm noticing about this tool, this stencil, sorry, as I'm doing it, I'm not going to actually press this down hard because I may end up taking it out. But if I take this and I put it over top, there are little squares. So if I was using this and I didn't have the tool, what I would do is I would make sure that when I'm stenciling, that those, so I'll do that too for this one because I'm going to trim back, but I'm going to make sure those little squares are showing on my background. So you can see them there. 1, 2, right? So what I can do is, so this is stencil number 2, is I can line it up like this, make sure that it's going to layer properly. So that is going to layer properly. So this could get a little fiddly, I'm going to say, but it's not to say that it wouldn't be worthwhile, especially if you're going to use a stencil more than once. So now I'm going to test it. Did it line up? No, actually it's a little bit off. So what I can do is I can leave this here ready to go on the tool where I need it to be. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back and I'm going to line it up properly. Ugh, my hands are not steady today. Anyway, there we go, ish. Okay. Now I can press down with this. And yes, that should line up every time. So I will show that again. So if that was confusing, don't worry. I've got 2 more to go. So it's all good. So I'm just going to grab a different color and a different, I got my different stencil on. Okay. So I'm not going to go ahead and do all my layering, okay? But we're going to see if it's working. And I'd say, yes, that looks really good. Really, really good. That's doing exactly what it's supposed to. So now if I actually did ink up the whole thing, I would definitely get some success here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this back up where it was. I'm going to make absolutely sure, and I know they are there, but I'm going to make them a little darker for the camera. Those little squares that would help me to line up my stencil, I'm going to make sure they're nice and dark on there. Okay. So I can take stencil number 2 off. So now I'm going to grab stencil number 3. So I'm going to put stencil number 3 down. I know that I want this to sit here. This is where I have it on station 2 over. So I've lined up all my dots. So now all I need to do is take another one of these babies. Thanks, Laurie. Pull this back. hold this in place, put this down, and press it down. Now I could go ahead and switch colors. So by rights, I should be cooking with gas. And look, see how nice that layering is coming out in there? So there you go. How's that for learning as I go? So it's not a tough tool. It's learnable. I learned it right in front of you on camera. So I've got one more. So just because I have it, I'm going to go ahead and show that one more time just to be clear how I've done it. So I'm going to put my thing back on this is my stencil tool. I got it there ready to go. I'm going to line this up with the squares that are marked on all the stencils for helping me line up. Okay, so there's one square on every corner. Then what I'll do is I'll remove the adhesive from my converter. Place this into place. Give it a press down. And then I'm ready to go. One more time. I can't sing that song. All right. Probably shouldn't. Ta-da! And it worked. It's beautiful. It's fab. All right. So I think that's a great feature for this. Okay. The other thing is I didn't realize before I started that there's 10 of these in your little pack. So really, that's actually not as, I thought it was pricey, but now I'm not thinking so. I'm quite impressed. I'm very impressed, actually. Okay, so yeah, so layering stencils are a definite yes. All right. So, okay, back up. Let's say you don't have these. The thing to remember is if I peel this back, this is sticky, right? If I just wanted to do a card front, I can still put, I did cut some. There's some here. I have them. I can put some on paper on my sticky grid. The grid is there, so I can use the grid to my advantage, line up the grid nice and straight, and then just start layering my stencils onto here. And what'll happen is without this and this, I still have the advantage of this stickiness of the grid and the grid itself for lining up, right? So I can line up this using the grid. So I'm just going to kind of go along the line and then give it a, whoops, well, shouldn't move it before I'm ready, but right, there we go. So now I've got extra stick happening here to help me secure that stencil in place all the way around. And I've also got the lines here. But what I might want to do, or I'm going to have to do, is put those square markings right on my sticky grid. But as we said, the sticky grid is replaceable. So I could do that multiple times for multiple different things, as long as I, keep track in my mind which one of the squares I need, I'm good to go. Anyway, let's see how that works. See, just the same. So there you go. I helped you cut a corner if you want to. Okay, so that is a couple of things I love. So the other thing that I haven't shown you yet is the bottom. So it's got this velvety finish. What I like about that is I've got it sitting on my silicone mat, and it's a nice hard surface with not a lot of give. So one of the things that people struggle with in their stamping is, especially when you're working on you know, we don't necessarily buy the best tables for our craft rooms. We have card tables and pop-up tables, and we don't necessarily have, you know, the most sturdy tables. And then we get out our blocks and we stamp, and this table goes like this. It gives a wow. So then you end up getting parts of your stamp that aren't inking. So what I like about this is it's nice and sturdy, so I can put this down and I've got a nice sturdy surface to stamp onto. So when I'm doing my stamping, this velvety surface, particularly against this silicone mat, but I think on any surface, it doesn't move as much. So when I'm stenciling and I'm moving things around, I've got this kind of holding it down. So that's definitely some of the great features of the Stamp and Stencil tool. Okay, so let's show you one of my favorite add-on features of this tool. And this to me is like, I've shown you some cool stuff, I think. I think for right now, I've shown that this is pretty worth it. But it also comes with a couple of different add-on tools that you would have to purchase separately. The number one tool that I think is super cool is this. It's called registration plate adapter. So like I said at the beginning, there's two different names. It's the Stamp and Stencil tool or the registration plate. This goes on either one. Okay, so it doesn't matter which of the tools you have. To get this will, what this does was gives you, boosts your stampy part. So this is your stamping platform up so that you can put something like a journal in there, right? So I can, now don't forget that sometimes it's hard for our brains to, you know, work geometry, but you can put it in this way. You can have this going this way. You can have this coming towards you. You can have this opening whichever way you want to. So let's say I want to put, doesn't really matter. I just want to put it in my journal. I want the guy in my journal. So I can put my journal in this, and there's lots. See, I can stamp right into my journal. So I'm going to stamp this guy again. Now, if you guys know me, you know I love Depeche Mode, and I bought this because I thought it looked like the lead singer of Depeche Mode. So anyway, when he was younger. So I can put him in my journal as many times as I want. So the other thing too is I can press this, place it, and if I don't have a lot of room, I can pull this off for inking, just like I'm going to. And I should get pretty close to where I wanted it, within, you know, millimeters. Every time you move and change something, there is risk, right? Things are gonna shift and move, but like this, slap it down, boom. I now have this image, and see, now it didn't stamp perfectly, which is of course a really sad thing for journalers, because we often use our block, and then we have to put up with these kind of one and done images because it's risky to come along and try again. You don't want, maybe you've built up a bunch of layers and you don't want to ruin your page, right? So now we have this great tool for our bulky art journals to be able to try and stamp more than once. Okay. Yes, much better. Okay. I'm going to show one trick. So it's a little bit of a troubleshooting trick that I learned. Again, once you know no tool is perfect, but once you know what a tool can do, you can work around and find ways, right? Sorry, I'm trying to find this really cool idea I have. Sorry. Didn't think about it till we were talking, so. And I need to show this. It has to happen. Here we go. All right. So I bought myself, what is this? A 9-ish by 12-ish cutting mat, just for art journaling, because I do like to make those cut through journals. But what I did find is sometimes when I'm working in my art journal, there's things on other pages that interact with and make the stamping difficult for the next page. So I even find just putting that in there. I don't want him twice, so let's just see what else we can do here. Let's put some numbers in. I feel like this is, okay, that's an inside joke for Depeche Mode people, but this is a just can't get enough page because we're counting. Haha. All right, fine. There. And I just find that just that little bit of extra makes sure that that image stamps really nicely. Okay. So that is probably my favorite, top favorite. Sorry, add-on. Okay. Julia got me. Julie likes Depeche Mode. Such a dork, aren't I? Anyway, all right. I would like to show this on the next Crafty tool chat. So I promise it won't be as long as between that one and this one. I'm going to come back in about 2 weeks and I'm going to show the Stamp and Spin tool. The Stamp and Spin tool is an add-on tool to the Sizzix registration plate. I haven't, see, it's still in box. So I could, when all the influencers do this, I could still do that. I can do all the goofy things, but I'll just quickly open it up and show you. And then I think what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll do another Crafty chat because I like to keep these kind of short. Notice what it does is it slides in. Oh my gosh, I really haven't opened this. I need packaging and everything, but this piece is gonna come off. And then this piece is going to go on and we can do some other cool techniques, making wreaths and so exciting. So another cool tool that you can add on to this Sizzix Stamp and Stencil tool. So I'm just going to quickly clean up. And like I said, I promise I'll come back and we'll do this next in about 2 weeks. But I did want to talk. Oh, see there, the sticky grid was handy because it even kept my journal in place. It didn't. My journal isn't sliding around in there. So awesome. Okay, so for cleaning up, we have this plastic clean and shine. So what I think about cleaning up is you want a soft cloth. If you can get it off with water, great. But if you got something like a pigment ink, you might want to use something a little bit more. So that's where this plastic clean and shine is really handy. We do have it in store. You're going to want to keep this quite clean so that you can see through it. You don't want a lot of scratches on it. And if you're anything like me, you're going to get ink and paint all over it. So having a nice cleaner on hand would be absolutely fabulous. Okay. So there you go. 40-minute talk on the Sizzix Stamp and Stencil tool. I hope you enjoyed that. Loved learning with you and along beside you. And yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll come back for the Stamp and Stencil tool. Thanks everybody for joining me, and feel free, add questions to the comments, I will happily watch for those and answer.